Today on From My Desk, we're going to talk about three particular topics: how to profit from inflation, your success with content, and then how to write a newsletter and membership offer. So first off, I want to share with you what's so important about this interaction that we have with each other and why I produce the newsletter From My Desk. First off, I'm Justin Hitt, and I run a consultancy business. I'm a risk manager. I keep pretty busy, but in the effect of educating myself about the roles that I play in business, I have learned a lot of stuff, and I tend to package it up in such a way and enjoy interacting with individuals that I end up with more ideas than I have actions completed. So this is not my full-time job. I don't do this as a business per se, this creating content part. The key of what I do is I'm a subject matter expert in risk management, project management, and supply chain, and I apply that to environmental and business-related development. So again, I'm creating content. I'm just a regular guy, and I primarily create this content as a therapeutic way to practice my communication skills. Believe it or not, I spend a lot of time in the IT world, and things like looking at a camera and not looking at my own face and trying to look at the little camera over here so we make eye contact. These are things that I need to work on. So of course, I developed a newsletter called From My Desk. So in the activity of cleaning up my desk or documenting these ideas or writing special reports or materials that I provide to my private clients, I figured why not share some of this information with my audience as well as practice the skills that are necessary in order for me to be a more effective communicator. So first off, let's start with profit from inflation. So a lot of folks today have noticed how prices are going sky high. Now, I didn't increase the price of the subscription newsletter or anything like that because prices are going up, because prices, when they go up, don't impact all areas of the marketplace. But if you're not already a paid subscriber, you do want to visit shop.jwhco.com and go join our paid From My Desk newsletter. I'm going to share with you insights, all the stuff before it's even published, and a lot of times answer questions that you have. And my goal is, like I said, with doing this, again, it's not my full-time job, but I need to learn how to convey ideas clearly, and you have questions about areas in which I have subject matter expertise. So in practicing conveying information in a valuable, actionable way, as a subscriber, very nominal rate, you're going to get ideas, tips, concepts that you can use immediately. So for example, when we talk about how to profit from inflation, I'm going to share with you some key ideas that are going to help you understand not only why inflation happens, but the cycles of investment that you can use so that you earn more than the inflation's taken away. So first off, inflation is an involuntary tax that is the result of poor monetary standards. It could be temporary supply chain issues, usually addressed by a regulation. So the government does price fixing, for example, and that may inflate prices in the marketplace while fixing the price for, say, apartments. So home prices may shoot up because apartments have a fixed price. Another example is where mortgages are guaranteed by a federal program, so people can charge more for houses because more people can now get mortgages. So the demand has increased by the quote free money, and ultimately over time it causes prices to increase, can price people out of neighborhoods. So inflation is a means to control populations, and this is not a conspiracy theory or anything, but if the government needs to raise more money by lowering the value of a fiat currency, meaning they print more dollars, so instead of being $25 per ounce of gold, it becomes $35 per ounce of gold. And again, you don't have to be tied to a gold standard to use gold and precious metals as some kind of relative measure so that you can tell what the value of a dollar is over time. You can also use consumer price index. And for example, in the 1970s, a car might have cost $7,000, which was an equivalent of 1 year wages. And now today, a car might cost $20,000, which is a fraction of individual wages? Did vehicles inflate from 7,000 to 20,000, or do people have more buying power today because wages are higher? So from an economics perspective, inflation can go up and down. It can go up and down by segments, and it can go up and down just in general. So when you hear in the news today that we've hit 40-year inflations, well, that's the consumer price index. And our assumption is the consumer price index is measuring these things accurately, but it's not necessarily the case. And that's why we talk about profiting from inflation from an individual perspective. So as a high income professional, an entrepreneur, somebody has a high net worth, we're more concerned about your individual situation and your individual ability to earn more at a rate faster than inflation. So inflation reduces your buying power. How do we maintain buying power? Now, a lot of people recommend gold and precious metals. I don't agree with that, because if we're not understanding the cycle of money, see, we need to circulate money, not to spend money. We don't invest money. We put money out into the marketplace through application of capital in such ways that either buys assets that cash flow so that we have additional income. Because if inflation's going up 4% and you've only got a 1% raise, you're making 3% less as far as your income is concerned. So we have to be able to measure, monitor, and increase value. So where would you put your active and passive income in order to preserve it against inflation? Well, you can put it into property, okay? Not necessarily your home, because the home doesn't produce any cash flow. Now, if you live in a very small home that's far below your means, it is possible for your home to effectively save you money over time in a way that creates a cash flow. However, it still comes from your active or passive income, so it's not new money from an outside source. So property, I mean farmland, rental properties, investment properties. You know, owning an industrial park might be a good thing. Owning buildings that you rent out to other people converts their active income into your passive, or in some cases active income. But property, precious metals can have value because, again, they maintain value. But from an economics perspective, I don't see gold as having a changing price. So this is very important. Gold is a physical object. Precious metals, physical object. They can have a utility value in the marketplace, meaning you can turn the gold into chips, you can turn platinum into certain things, copper into wires, and there could be an increase or decreased demand in that particular precious metal in order to change its intrinsic value. However, when it comes to currency, the gold still, once you buy the gold, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't pay you dividends. It doesn't, unless you loan it to somebody, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. And so I don't see that as I see it as a preservation of capital, but you still have to convert the precious object into either goods and services, or you need to sell it for a fiat currency. So I don't think it has as much value as a lot of people place in it. We're not actively buying and selling in gold coins or silver coins. Plus, there's the whole issue of storage has cost. We'll just leave it at that. Where else can you put your active or passive income in order to protect it against inflation? Well, you can put it into entrepreneurial activities. An entrepreneurial activity is where you take your insights, knowledge, experience, you improve skills, and then you use those skills to leverage this newsletter is an example. I charge a subscription for the newsletter. I have some episodes that are available to the public, which encourage people to get the subscription. But ultimately, I'm improving my communication skills by trying to take your questions and putting them into bite-sized explanations with actionable insights. So I'm delivering to you a service using my experience, my knowledge, and my growing ability to communicate. And for a certain audience in the population of 7 billion people, they love it and they really want to use it because I'm saving you a lot of time by answering questions rather than you having to go search for things. So you're off doing what generates revenue for you or what generates enjoyment for you. Meanwhile, I go do all the hard work, but I do the hard work one time and put it in a medium I can use it many times. That's an entrepreneurial concept. You might see a problem in your community that you can solve as a consultant, as a small business, as even a retail establishment. Now, entrepreneurship has risk, and we address that risk in other ways. We'll talk about that some other time, but because you can set prices in the marketplace, if your cost of living goes up, then you just increase your prices. If taxes go up, you increase your prices. If the value of goods and services go, so your precious metal dealer is probably more valuable than owning precious metal as an individual, because then you can sell it at the new price and kind of set the prices in the market. That's what the entrepreneurialism does. The final one is stock investing. Now, there are many other ways that you can profit from inflation, or you can preserve your buying power, but equity tends to be the easiest, because as the value of a dollar goes down, and that underlying company still has that potential. So the underlying company is sometimes entrepreneurial, it's a business. Sometimes the underlying company is mining for precious metals, and therefore they're hedged against their inventory losing value, because you have what's called an inventory replacement value. So they could be a real estate investment trust. So by investing in a stock market, you're actually able to access the various types of inflation protected elements and benefit from some of the upside, but ultimately do it with a lower risk, because you're engaging with a brokerage. Now, if the currency collapses and the brokerage goes under, or there's a scandal, then you won't get your money back. But ultimately, what I find is a combination of these things work best. So the question is how do I hedge against inflation? I'm arguing you should be profiting from inflation because of the differences in sectors. So let's look at a pair of precious metals, gold and silver. There will be times that gold is selling at a premium and silver is selling at a discount. When those two cross each other, so gold selling at a premium, you sell your gold and you buy your silver at a discount. Now, that's just one example. It's definitely not investment advice. Again, because I said the gold and silver, physical gold and silver, it has storage costs. It has other things. I don't think it's the number one choice, but it should be one of your considerations. When the case of the property comes along, there are times when there's no demand for certain categories of property, such as real estate, commercial real estate in a rural area. So there may not be no demand for commercial real estate in a rural area. You drive into a town, you see that there's no businesses in any of the storefronts, and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a massive amount of property at a discount. Well, if you're unable to cash flow the property or capitalize the property to lower taxes from income on another stream, then ultimately you end up with the same worthless piece of crap that everybody else didn't want, and you end up with empty buildings you have to maintain and have holding costs. So what I always recommend, and this will wrap up the segment on profiting from inflation, is that you consider all available options within your area of interest and area of expertise, and then ultimately prioritize these and choose one to add to your portfolio in a sense. And so you're going to have active income. That could be your job. That could be something that's very consistent about what you're doing right now. But you also have passive income. So to hedge or profit from inflation, you want to be looking for assets that cash flow passive income that you can then reinvest back into assets that cash flow passive income, so that you're able to gain a year-over-year income increase of 4 to 10%. Inflation does go up to 7, 12, even 25% in some categories, so you also want to manage the categories, and this is part of that household management that we talk about. There are times I bought a 25-pound bag of rice for $9, and then a few months later, I still had the bag of rice, but the replacement cost of that bag of rice was $15. So in effect, I've hedged against inflation while providing a necessary food that we need. So again, a lot of folks wonder, Justin, why are you talking about business growth? Why are you talking about permaculture and environmental issues? Why are you talking about growing your own food or homesteading? Well, all these things come together even for the high income professional or high net worth individual who could see over time the value of proper household management, proper investing, and then definitely risk reduction. So by thinking about how you can profit from inflation, you're reducing your overall risk from inflation because you're going to improve your understanding of the conditions. You're going to be able to look at your decisions with money, and then you'll be able to circulate money. And that's the last takeaway, is that you don't want to spend money. You're not investing money, and you're definitely not saving money, because inflation will kill your savings. While your dollar amount stays the same, the buying power has been reduced. Circulating money is a whole different consideration, where you are making decisions about where to place your capital so that it returns back some kind of additional capital. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, oh my gosh, that's so greedy. Think about it this way. If you're going to plant a garden, and this is, again, an example of why I'm using agricultural related examples, and then also incorporating that kind of concept in your own life. But if you're going to plant a garden, you want seeds that are good and soil that is advantageous for growth. You want to create the conditions necessary that every seed you plant returns back a plenty. So that one kernel of corn returns back a whole cob of corn. You want to do the same thing with your money. You want to make decisions about when you plant the money, when you plant the seed money, where you invest your money, and you want that money to come back to you. So what I hope for a lot of subscribers, and the majority of subscribers who ask questions, is that your tiny investment in this newsletter returns to you ideas and insights that help you make better decisions. Those decisions can hedge your income against inflation. It can drive forward the outcomes that you're looking for as far as decisions, the results of decisions, and then can ultimately produce for you the lifestyle, the enjoyment, and the outcomes that you desire. So if you want to profit from inflation, I have a whole special report on it. This is just one page. Look at that little chart right there. That's what I talked about just right now. Look at that. And then ultimately, there's a circulation of money right here. Again, I got so many things going on. I'm going to file this with my Profit from Inflation program, which we've covered before. And if you want more information, visit us at www.jwhco.com and go to the contact page and just ask your questions. I'm organized enough here that I can match you up with the resource you need. Quick commercial before we go to the next segment, where we're going to talk about success with content. We have a number of resources available at justinhitt.com. That's my core website that describes my consulting services. Please understand that 100% of my time is spent with private clients, and many of those private clients are paying a significant amount of money to maintain my focus on their problems. But if you send in your questions, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions in one of the many newsletters that we have available. So you're involved right now in our From My Desk newsletter, which is the core newsletter that touches on all the key ideas and concepts that I come across, as well as tips and tricks to get you better results, mainly in areas of building business relationships and then transforming those relationships into some means of profit. Not just capital profit, but the 8 forms of capital, which include your increasing your skill set, your abilities, and your thinking capacity, so that you can make good decisions that generate those things that you want. If you're interested in any of that stuff, you're going to visit me at www.justinhitt.com. Go in there and ask your questions. See, it all starts with a question, the power of questions. So in the next section, we're going to talk about success with content. And if you're on the public channel, you're not going to see that, because that's for paid subscribers only. Anyway, I'm Justin Hitt with From My Desk newsletter, and I'm about to go to section 2.